News right now. Here in the past hour, firefighters have been responding to a fire on Beargrass Avenue in Butyl. Louisville Metro says confirming to us that at least one person has been rescued from a home there. Beargrass runs right off Bardstown Road in Butyl. Our news crew is heading to the scene at the moment, and we'll bring you updates from them right here as they arrive on the scene. Also new at 5, the first man arrested in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers watches his court hearing over Zoom today. Joseph Lawson, paralyzed in a wheelchair at an Oldham County jail. Lawson is charged with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence.
Today, anticipated discussions over reducing Lawson's bond got pushed back. Senior reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez and photojournalist Emma Gefter report from Nelson County.
A day after his father appeared in person in handcuffs before a judge, Joseph Lawson attended his status hearing virtually. He also learned that any effort at getting his bond reduced won't be considered until next month.
Mr. Lawson, can you still hear us there?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Sitting mostly expressionless in a wheelchair, one of 3 men charged in connection to Crystal Rogers' death watched with his arms crossed.
Okay, if at any point you can't hear anything, you let me know so we can make sure you can hear everything that's occurring here today, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
His attorneys were expected to make the case for his bond to be cut down to $50,000, arguing his condition negates any danger he could pose if released. But that discussion got pushed back to February 8th, notably the same day co-defendant Brooks Houck is also due back in court. Lawson's attorneys hope in February Lawson will be able to attend in person.
You want him transported here on that hearing? If possible. That's no problem.
Lawson listened over Zoom from the Kentucky State Reformatory in Oldham County Prison, where he's serving time for a separate 2022 case. Crystal's mom, Sherry Ballard, and grandparents Till and Betty Ballard were all in the courtroom. Sherry at times exchanging words with prosecutors. In what was a quick hearing, Special Prosecutor Shane Young told the judge the rest of the evidence in Joseph Lawson's case should be sent over to defense attorneys by later this month.
And it's going to consist of the FBI reports and the state police reports, supplements from over the last year and a half or so.
The attorney for Lawson's father, Steve Lawson, has told WHAS11 that Joseph was the one driving Crystal's car when he got a flat tire. That car was found abandoned on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway all those years ago, with Crystal's purse, keys, and phone inside. A big question that remains, if Joseph Lawson was indeed driving it, why? Another hearing down, the Ballard family as determined as ever for the answers to come out. Isaiah Kim Martinez, WHAS 11 on your side.
Attorneys say they expect to set a trial date for Joseph Lawson when he's back before a judge February 8th. We also just learned that Brooks Houck will be transported from the Oldham County Jail to Nelson County for his hearing that very same day. And Joseph Lawson's father, Steve Lawson, was in court yesterday for a bond reduction hearing. Steve is facing the same charges as his son Joseph. Yesterday in court, Lawson's attorney argued his client has fully cooperated with Kentucky State Police, giving them any testimony that they've asked for in exchange for immunity from prosecution.
We stayed until the dinner was ate or eaten. We stayed till it was complete, until they had their time with my client, until they had their way with my client. We stayed until the end every time.
But Special Prosecutor Shane Young says that the $500,000 bond is appropriate given the severity of the charges. Judge Charles Sims is reviewing the comments made yesterday, and we're still waiting for him to make a decision on the request to reduce Lawson's bond to $20,000. Now, the third person arrested in Crystal Rogers' death is Brooks Houck, who was Rogers' boyfriend when she disappeared. He's scheduled to be in court on February 8th. He's charged with murder and tampering with physical evidence. He's being held on a $10 million bond.
More local news for you here on this Friday evening. Several restaurants have closed in Colonial Gardens. Colonial Gardens, it's right near Iroquois Park. The restaurants have been closing in the last year, but new ones are already on the way. The historic landmark was redeveloped back in 2018 after the city of Louisville sold the land to a developer for just $1. Ariane Hardwitt went back to visit today to see what's on the way out and what's in Louisville's South End.
Union 15's motto describes it as the heart of the hills, but as of the new year, it doesn't look like that heart's beating anymore. As one restaurant owner across the street tells me, this can be a hard time if you're a restaurant across the street from Iroquois Park. Chan Nelson is smoking his best-selling weekend special, Burnt Ends.
It creates just a beautiful bite.
He owns Back Deck Barbecue. They've been open 2.5 years after Nelson ran the business as a food truck for nearly a decade. He says he sells more barbecue in warmer seasons because they get more customers coming from Iroquois Park.
They have concerts in the summer and the fall, like every other weekend, every weekend. And then in October, they have a big pumpkin walk. I appreciate you guys. They have a pumpkin walk that's real big.
Kelly Luther visited the area on her lunch break. The splash pads at the park are usually her reason to come by in the summer.
Well, we live in Shively, and there's not really a whole lot of restaurants that aren't fast food. There's a few sit-down places.
Downwind of Nelson's Smoker at Colonial Gardens, you can see right through the empty pizza joint, Union 15. It's one of 3 restaurants there to recently close. However, a new one is already opening. What used to be a Biscuit Belly is being converted into a ramen house. And Costa del Sol is now open where Taco Luchador used to be. During lunch, their booths were filled as cars rolled by on New Cut Road. And the new restaurant's already hiring. The developer who owns Colonial Gardens, Underhill Associates, puts on concerts in the summer to help drive business. The area just needs to thaw its winter frost. In the Iroquois neighborhood, Ian Hardwitt, WHAS 11, on your side.
By the way, we also talked to the District 21 council member who represents that area, the Iroquois neighborhood, and she told us Hokkaido Ramen House is also expected to open in Colonial Gardens this month.
Today, family and friends gathered to remember police officer Mark Cordis at his visitation. He worked in LMPD's 5th Division and died from a medical emergency December 27th. While off duty, his visitation is happening at the Highland Funeral Home on Taylorsville Road now until 8 o'clock. His funeral mass is set for tomorrow morning. That's at 10 o'clock at St. Gabriel Catholic Church on Bardstown Road.
Louisville Metro Council has selected its leadership now for 2024, the upcoming year. Councilmember Marcus Winkler, who represents a large part of eastern Jefferson County, will once again serve as the Metro Council president. He keeps the position he assumed last year, taking over for David James. Democrats re-elected Councilmember Paula McCraney to serve as chair of the Majority Caucus for 2024. Meantime, the Republicans unanimously selected Kevin Kramer as the Minority Caucus chair. Kramer will take over for Anthony Piagentini, who, as you know, was recently found guilty of ethics violations. A charging committee has recommended that he be removed from office, and those hearings have not yet been scheduled.
Indiana's legislative session begins Monday, and Republican leaders say they're hoping for a quick and quiet session this year, but there are already several bills filed dealing with hot-button issues, including gun control. One bill would increase the minimum age to buy and own a gun from 18 to 21. Another would require private gun sales to go through background checks at a gun dealership. Meanwhile, Senate Bill 95 would give local cities and towns in Indiana the ability to pass ordinances to regulate firearms in their communities more than the state law allows.
My legislation requires law enforcement to make the recommendation and the recommendations to be supported by the local community before the legislative body can act on it.
The deadline for lawmakers to file Senate bills is next Tuesday at 4 o'clock for House lawmakers. That deadline is next Thursday at 2 o'clock.